Hello, and welcome to Pearl Escape's Guide to Healing. And in this episode, I want to talk about symptoms and also the level that we're healing at. And this is really, really important because sometimes when we think of healing and we think of wellness, sometimes what we do is we focus on the symptoms. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because sometimes the symptoms are the worst part of a condition or an illness or something that's going wrong with our bodies, mind, or spirit. So, for example, when we talk about migraine, obviously migraine has a lot of causes, but essentially it's a symptom that something is kind of going wrong in our bodies. And as a symptom, it's pretty awful. And so a lot of time our focus is on how do I stop the pain? How do I stop the other symptoms of migraine? But then if we look deeper, we can start to understand the causes and the roots of why we might be suffering. And if we can do that, not only do we cure and heal the symptom, but we can also heal on a deeper level and perhaps some things which we weren't really aware of or weren't causing us a problem until we had those symptoms. So, for example, one of the things that really looking into with migraine and many other conditions is the gut microbiome. And very often we might not notice that there's something wrong there, but if we don't do something about it, if we don't address it, then it can actually create sort of other really long-term problems for us. And so that's one sort of way of looking at levels of healing. And another one is looking at something like depression. So, for example, if I go and speak to somebody in the NHS, or go and speak to a doctor or a therapist, they might say, hey, you're depressed. And we want to treat that depression. And the way we want to do that is by giving you an antidepressant. So what we're going to do is give you something that's going to change your brain chemistry and it's going to make you feel better. It's going to help with that depression. And that's one thing that they could do or they could suggest. But the other thing they might suggest is, hey, what about talking therapies? So maybe what we could do is sit down and talk and try and figure out if there are reasons that you're feeling depressed, or even just that you need to talk, that you need to vent, that you need to work through some of the things that are going on for you. And in fact, that depression could be a sign, a symptom of other things going on. So if we think about depression, this is something that I've really focused on because I've been working and writing a book about happy chemicals, which you might have seen. It's now available on Amazon in paperback, looking at dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. And the thing is that when we give someone an antidepressant, what we're really trying to do is change that brain chemistry, give them either, say, more dopamine or more serotonin, or even in some cases, more oxytocin. But why do we have low levels of those chemicals in the first place? And so I keep saying as well, when I keep talking to people, I say, well, every time a doctor prescribes an antidepressant like an SSRI, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, wouldn't it be better if we just gave everybody at that point a fact sheet on serotonin and said, well, hey, here's how you can naturally get more serotonin in your body. So it's things like our diet, making sure we're getting enough protein, so tryptophan and or tyrosine for dopamine. And I've done another episode all about serotonin, which is a bit more in detail. But this episode is really about looking at the level that we heal on, And sometimes what it means is, say, for example, depression. We might feel quite bad possibly this time of year because it's January, because it's been very dark, we haven't been able to get outside. Perhaps we're worried about finances. Perhaps we didn't have a great Christmas or New Year and we're feeling that maybe our social life isn't really up or we want it to be. Maybe we've got work worries, things like that, other things going on in the world. But what we could do is look at it and say, well, yeah, let's put a patch on it. Let me take some antidepressants, you know. But what we might be doing is not dealing with what's really going on for us and looking deeper into the issue. And the good thing about January is that we have a real sort of like healthy lifestyle push. So we might think, hey, what about my gut microbiome? Because again, if it's not working properly, then I might not be producing serotonin. And there's about a 95% correlation between gut health and mental health. So if we have a mental health problem, we could say, well, you know, there's 95% chance there's something going on in the gut, in our gut, that isn't quite right. And that relates to all kinds of things, not just our mental health or depression, but loads of other things going on in our bodies as well. So it really, really pays to look deeper and to say, well, if that's a problem, let's start healing it. Let's look at taking some supplements or changing our diet, or maybe stopping eating quite so much sugar. Because I must admit, I have eaten a lot of sugar over Christmas and New Year, and it's probably not done my microbiome any good. But the other thing that we can do when we're looking at any problem, whether it's mind, body, or spirit, is look deeper and say, well, hang on, if I'm unhappy, if I'm depressed, what is it that I'm not doing? You know, what is it about my life that doesn't match with the life that I dream of? Where am I not happy, and what am I not happy about? And what can I change? You know, and it's really about bringing that power back. I'm not going to use the word control, because we just can't control everything in life. We can be fantastic at what we do, but we can lose our jobs. You know, we can be doing lots of sales and marketing and sending loads of stuff out there, and we don't get any replies. And then on another day, we'll do something, we'll send out one email, and suddenly somebody desperately wants to work with us. We can't really control that. But what we can do is empower ourselves and say, you know what? I can apply for jobs. I can redo my CV. I can send those emails out there. I can keep talking to people about what I want. Okay. In the same way, we can't control other people and our relationships. So perhaps we're in a relationship that's not making us happy. Or perhaps we're not in a relationship. You know, our job is not to control other people, but what we can do is control and empower ourselves to put ourselves out there, to join a dating app, to start to socialize more, to go where we might meet people so that we can have a better social life, or we can start dating people. Or of course, you know, look at ourselves and say, hey, maybe I want to change the way I dress, or the way that I do my makeup. I don't actually do any makeup, or my hair, or something like that, so that I feel more confident when I go out and I meet people. You know? I think sometimes we can have a lot of pressure on ourselves to change things so that other people will find us attractive. And honestly, every time I've met anybody and got serious with them, I have usually been not wearing any makeup or wearing my glasses, not looking great, or even one time in A&E, I turned up in A&E and the male nurse asked me out. And you think, really? Looking like this? Are you sure? But I think sometimes we put that pressure on ourselves. But one of the most important things about depression, I find, and you know, I don't want to get sidetracked by depression because it's a big subject, and we're talking about layers of healing, is that often we feel it when we are not living the life that we want to live. And so making those changes and doing those things is not necessarily about being successful in the sense of getting what we want. Because we often think of success as being rich or thin or in a great relationship or, you know, having a great career. But actually what feels really, really good is to be taking the action, you know, taking the action towards those things. I'm not going to say it's not great when things are brilliant and you get the job or you meet the person or you lose the weight. Of course, all those things feel great. But one of the big shifts I had the last sort of month or so is because I struggle with migraine, I was often thinking about success as being getting over migraine. Because I'm doing all this stuff, I'm doing all this research, I'm trying to heal this condition. And so I often think of success as being good health, perfect health, no migraines. Oh, that'd be great, wouldn't it be great? And then one day I just suddenly thought, what if success is not that, but success is living the best way I can with my health condition? And that to me suddenly made sense in a way where sometimes with my symptoms, I feel like I'm just beating my head against the wall because I feel like I'm doing really well and then I'll have a really bad migraine again. But what if it's about just living the best I can within those constraints and not letting that condition stop me trying, stop me taking the action where I can, when I can. And a lot of it is kind of about taking back that confidence and the feeling of, yes, it's okay. It's okay to not be well. I went down to the beach this morning because it's sunny. And I thought, this is great. I'll go out for a nice long walk. And it was so windy. It was painful to walk along the beach. And it was actually hurting my ears. But I thought, as I walked along, I love living here and I love living by the beach. Even though so many times when I go down there, it's not great. Or it's rainy, or it's so cold that I can't really make it down there. And I thought, you know what, I love living here, even if it's not great all the time. It's not perfect all the time. It's not the holiday weather that you see. Even if you see a picture of the beach, you don't see how windy it is and how painful it is sometimes. But I still love it. And it sort of made me think that I can still do so much, even if I do get ill sometimes. Because one of my biggest fears is letting people down. So what I felt was, as I walked on the beach, I thought, you know what, I love the sea, even if it's not my day every day. It's not my beach day every day. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. But it doesn't mean to say it's not amazing and awesome and fabulous. And that's like us. If we don't look perfect on a day, if we don't look great, we're still perfect and amazing and awesome. And that for me, I suppose, is part of the healing over the last sort of couple of months and weeks, is not just the physical healing of saying, hey, let me go and improve my microbiome, let me do more exercise, let me try and get more sleep, all those things that I'm trying. But it's also to heal on an even deeper level of recognizing that perfection, even through troubles and trials and challenges. And so sometimes when we are challenged and we're going through things, sometimes it's so that we can find a deeper place and a way of being. So for example, in a relationship, we want it to look all wonderful and roses and beautiful dates and everything is glorious and perfect and gorgeous and looks great on Instagram. But sometimes that deep, perfect, wonderful, true relationship that we have been thinking of, dreaming of, is when you're sitting in hospital and somebody is sitting by your side holding your hand, or when somebody does something small that means that you feel seen and loved and cared for, or even if just somebody is there with you when you're grieving for something in your life. So sometimes that perfection and strength of an individual or a relationship or a career or anything else in life is when things go horribly wrong. And how we are and who we are through the darkest times of life. So I hope that makes sense. And again, it's really about deciding where you want to heal, at what level. So if you have an issue, you have a problem, it's like looking at, okay, is this a symptom or is this the actual problem? And then what's deeper than this? What needs to be looked at and addressed? And that's why I love the fear of success training I do, because so often where we feel terrible is because we have that fear of success and we're too afraid to take any steps in the direction that we want to go. And Henry David Thoreau said it so well in the book Walden, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. And as soon as we start to do that, we often heal on a really deep level. So when I work with fear of success with myself and other people, it's not to say you're not going to fail, and it's not to say that everything's going to go your way, because it really, and for most people, it really doesn't go your way every time. But it's about knowing that if we take one single step in the direction of our authentic success, things are going to start to get better. Because we're not sort of shrinking down and hiding away from what we want. We're actually being brave enough to step out and say, yes, I want to do this. And as soon as we do that, that bravery, it grows. It grows because we kind of go, wow, I can do this and I've done this. And yes, of course, we're going to get scared again. Yes, of course, we're going to go into crisis again when things get more challenging, because it's like climbing a mountain. The higher we get up of that mountain, the tougher it can get. But it means we've started the climb, or as Domingos would say and the family would say, we've started to fight. We've started to fight for what we truly, truly want and what is truly us, what is truly authentic to us. And we can feel it when we're doing that. Even if it sometimes feels like a drudge, if you're standing there handing out leaflets like I used to do for Zumba all the time, or you're sending out emails, or you're applying for things, it can feel like a real drudge. But it's brilliant drudge because within us, we know that we're actually doing it. We're making it happen. And marketing, sending out for jobs, setting our resume out for dating websites, even messaging a friend or a family member to say, hey, do you want to go for a cup of coffee? Because we want to have more social engagement. Every time we do that, it's not just what we do in that moment. It is a practice to open up and to reach out. And the more we do it, the easier it becomes. As long as we don't let it get to us. If we don't get success, we don't get the results straight away. It's okay if we don't get the results straight away, because what we're doing is getting better at the practice of putting ourselves out there. Or whatever else it is in your life that you feel that you need to heal. Maybe it's not putting yourself out there. Maybe it's about relaxing, resting, and not feeling that you have to do it all the time. It's a practice. So we have to practice either doing more or doing less, whatever's right for you. I hope that makes sense. And I hope you enjoy this little bit of sunshine out here. I would have done it outside, but it's very, very windy today. Okay, take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.